All right, welcome back to my channel. So I want to share something very, very important. As you know, Ogenkere made a post showing that he has met with he's not a congressman, Mike Arnold. And Mike Arnold is very popular now because he's very, very vocal about what is going on in Nigeria, especially the Christian genocide that people are trying to play down. He's just, one of the voice that amplify that information to the global community to know that Christians and Nigerians are going through a lot. Many times people play down on this kind of thing because of their religion, because of their faith. But Mike Arnold is one of those that are very vocal, pointing out what it is, what is going on in Nigeria, and how Nigerian government is playing it down. He started from the issue of Reno Mokri, who tried to lure him to be one of the voice to counter this Christian genocide going on in Nigeria. In fact, many Nigerians and many Biafrans, at some point have actually met him. They have talked. He's very open to everybody. Last time, Okocha, Marcel, I think that's my name, Marcel, the guy that he own one of the big platform on YouTube today, and he interviewed him. Why am I telling you this? Because each time Ogenkere step his foot on anything that he consider as one of as a kind of progressive move, he always brag about it. He always want to use that to chase cloud because he understands that those following him are not thinking. They don't have their own. They don't have their own mind or brain to reason. It's not an insult. I'm just telling you what I have observed from them. Most of them don't want to talk. If you try to engage them on any argument, they'll find a way to dodge it, of course, because they wouldn't want to be exposed themselves. But little do they know that they actually expose themselves by not doing what they're supposed to do. By running away from argument or engagement or even a conversation, they are not doing anything to get involved. To any logical conversation, they always try to avoid it, which of course many of you know that they don't have anything to offer. So all they can do is just to pretend that they actually want to do something, but when you call them to come and represent, they always hands off. All right, so Ogenkere, after all these things, what he do? He will use those kind of things to deceive his followers that he's now, in contact with such person. That's why he rushed to go to platform to a grant interview, and he messed up. Even Goto was like, "Who introduced me to this guy?" They said to pathway instantly. Why? Because he got to understand that this guy don't have anything to tell me. He know nothing to tell me, and all I can see here is someone who is forcing himself to be what he is not. Okay, so surprise, surprise, the recent congressional hearing or Congress briefing that Mike Arnold made a very, very important speech. That speech has been trending. In fact, I'm going to play some of the part of the of his speech in this video. So in case if you missed out or if you are confused of which of speech am I talking about, you are going to get an idea of what this speech here in this video. But please, before we move forward, I want you to like and share this particular video. If you are new here, please subscribe and follow us as we move to permanent site. All right, so everything we are saying here is actually in public. So I'm not telling you that I got an intel. If you go to Ogenkere's handle, you will see him making a post. You see his post where he, detailed his followers about his meeting or his handshake with Mike Arnold. Because having handshake with Ogenkere now, you must prepare your mind because he will use that to catch cruise. Now, Mike Arnold himself, like I told you, have met with so many other people in the past, and one of the people that he met with are not just only some of the people that he met with are not only just Nigeria or Biafra. He has been in contact with so many people because one thing about him is that if you are saying the truth, somehow he will cherish you, he will love you. Remember, he used to dine and wine with Reno Mokri, but Reno Mokri take that for granted, thinking that this is the best way, this is the right time to catch cruise, to mock, or to use him for his own political career. Mike Arnold noticed that and trashed in one hand. So the page you are seeing now on the screen, of course, is Ogenkere page. So this Ogenkere page, he was actually trying to tell people that he met with Mike Arnold and this and that, how he normally behaved. So he said, I had the great honor of meeting and having a substantive discussion with the Honorable Mike Arnold. We had a productive conversation on area of mutual interest. On behalf of Biafran Republic government in exile, I want to thank Mike Arnold for his bold and his outspoken voice for Biafran and Nigerian Christians. We are grateful for his support for the people of Biafra. Now, he shares some pictures, him with Mike Arnold, as you can see on the screen. But one thing I noticed here is that this happened to be a different, meeting. Like when I say meeting, I'm not saying they are in the one meeting, like having a meeting or a kind of deliberation or anything. I think what happened here is handshake and maybe word of appreciation or how are you? Nice to see you. Yeah, I am this and that. I used to read your post. I think I'm pleased with what you are saying. That is what I can say here because Mike Arnold, if you can pay close attention, you will notice that the picture here, the first two pictures here at your right hand as you are watching this appear to be Mike Arnold on a different attire. Then the one at left hand side, which appear to be maybe the recent one, I don't know, is also Mike Arnold on a different clothes. Meaning that the hand is even though the suit here appear to be, kind of, it look like gray. Then the other one is dark blue. So, or navy blue. So people need to understand that these pictures appear from different locations, not one meeting, not one handshake. Then why is he using it now to prove that he has gotten recognition and he's now pushing Biafran to permanent sites? Remember, the guy always carried his box, his briefcase, his box here. As you can see, always go out with a kind of one handbag like that you expect to have documents that PM referred to Biafrans when he said that the convention is going to generate a document for recognition and diplomatic discussion. In this box or in this bag, what do you think the bag contains? What document is that? What is his plan? What is the strategy? What is the tactics? What is that document that Ogekere has for recognition? And why is he bragging about posting Mike Arnold and all that? If not to let you know that he's meeting people that matter because he's this and that. People need to understand one thing. It is good to meet people. It is good to have handshake with anybody you want to have handshake with. I'm not against that. It's a very good thing. But the intent is what matters. What is your intention and what's your motive for having handshake with everybody and posting it and bragging about it? Like I told you, remember, many people have been in contact or in meeting or in conversation with Mike Arnold. I'm not supposed to say this, but I'm going to say it here. It's not hard to talk to Mike Arnold or to meet him or have him on your platform. Something, it's not hard. We all know this. Mazakwa have a scheduled meeting with him where he's going to interview him. Those of you that don't know, I'm just telling you now. Mazakwa, we have him on his platform very soon. That is what I'm talking about. But you see this Fallback group, any shadow that comes their way is recognition and achievement. And that is why I always frown my face when I see them bragging about picture. Have you, like the one yesterday, one of them was asking us if USB government have been in Capitol Hill and all that. I laughed. A lady that is now running for a Senate in US. Do you know what it means? If she want to have conversation with Mike Arnold, or they can this a wood pigeon, or they can make a wood pigeon, as easy as anything you can take off. That is not the fact. So please don't be deceived with this kind of propaganda and lies of these people. They have a way of doing that, and it's actually working for them somehow, but not when people who can think or reason for themselves is here. All right. I want you to please pay close attention to part of the speech that McArnold dished out.
The Nigerian government to end the genocide is like working with the Third Reich to end the Holocaust.
Okay, I'm about to introduce a hero. His name is Mike Arnold. He's made 16 trips to Nigeria, some under level 4 do not travel warnings. He founded the Africa Arise International, which today runs schools for more than 600 displaced children in the camps that the Nigerian government says doesn't exist. He's a former mayor of Blanco, Texas. And he is the author of Epicenter, Nigeria, Radical Islam and the War for Global Order, a #1 bestseller on Amazon. Mike.
Thank you so much. Everything I'm about to say is factual, so I have 19 pages of references. If anybody wants to question anything I say, it's right here, because some of it might be shocking. Nigeria, the 6th largest nation on earth, on track to be the 3rd largest by 2050. Top 5 OPEC, $1 trillion in minerals, a cultural powerhouse. Nigerians are among the most educated and wealthy in the United States, and they do it with integrity, sharing the values that made America great. Last year, General Michael Langley, AFRICOM, declared the region anchored by northern Nigeria as the epicenter of global terror. ISIS, Al-Qaeda, others call it home. Their stated ambition, full Sharia across Nigeria, and then a global jihad launch pad. The recent Old Dominion shooter was radicalized in Nigeria. Two scenarios. America's greatest African ally, innovative, peaceful, and prosperous, or the greatest security threat of the next generation, a Sharia exporting giant. A little bit of history. In 1804, Usman Dan Fodio waged a jihad and founded the Sokoto Caliphate, Africa's largest pre-colonial empire. Beheading, raping, destruction, displacement, 2 million slaves at its peak. This caliphate has never ended. That's North Nigeria. The British found two worlds, brutal Sharia North and vibrant, friendly South. They kept the caliphate intact as enforcers, indirect rule they called it, then merged the two in 1914. The South declared independence in 1967, Biafra. The civil war that followed, the British backed the North, which blockaded the South, shot down Red Cross planes. Up to 3 million, mostly children, starved to death. The South fell in 1970. Since then, power has stayed in the North by design, the caliphate. The current constitution, imposed by northern military dictator, mentions Sharia in Islamic terms 165 times. Christianity, 0. At least $9 billion a year in blood minerals are looted mainly by China, paying jihadis and corrupting military and political officials. It was President Goodluck Jonathan in his living room that leaned in and informed me about that. I know a lot of people there. I've been there a lot. Most of this is firsthand. Some key people that have been involved in this. Barack Obama unleashed the current genocide. In 2010, my first trip, Nigeria had an accidental Christian president, Goodluck Jonathan. Booming economy, only nation on earth where radical Islam was being pushed back. No slaughter, hardly any displaced people, just from random stuff. Northern warlord challenged Muhammadu Buhari, publicly called for Sharia law across Nigeria and globally. Boko Haram chose him to mediate with the government. Tinubu helped get him in office, the current president. David Axelrod was his campaign advisor. Obama blocked U.S. counterterrorism support to Jonathan, blocked other nations from helping. Jihadists flooded in from North Africa, villages massacred, millions displaced, raped, enslaved, kidnapped, churches burned. Buhari ran on ending the insecurity. It only got worse. Another person, the Sultan of Sokoto. He's like Pope and King to 108 million Muslims. Dan Fodio's 20th generation successor. He was a Nigerian general deployed to Pakistan and Afghanistan during the war on terror when we captured Nigerian fighters alongside Al-Qaeda and the Taliban. He returned and assumed the throne in 2006, and international terror tactics and organizations appeared soon after. He has never decreed an end to the killing or mineral looting in his domain, but he's called social media a terror organization. In 2025, he publicly supported the push for Sharia in traditionally Christian southern states. President Bola Tinubu, if that's his real name, In 1993, he forfeited $460,000 to a federal court in Chicago and fled the United States. That was proceeds from a heroin trafficking ring, which, by the way, heroin funds 37% of jihad around the world. He has appointed a man to rewrite the national curriculum whose defining credential is the book, The Islamization of Knowledge, which explicitly calls for intellectual jihad to oust Western education from nursery schools up to universities. This is academic Boko Haram by definition. And this is the guy that Tinubu put in charge of the curriculum of 50 million African Nigerian children. His new defense chief called the terrorists prodigal sons who deserve rehabilitation. That's the defense chief. NSA Nuhu Rabadu personally called me on October 5th to be Nigeria's Jane Fonda. It is documented he armed Miyeti Allah, the Fulani militia chaired by the Sultan and named in H.R. 7457 for potential FDO organization. He has publicly called the terrorists brothers. Mossad Bulus, Trump's senior advisor for Africa and the Middle East, holds multiple citizenships, including Nigerian, lived in Lagos for decades. He parrots verbatim talking points of terror-linked northern imams. He is CEO of his family company, which currently profits from multi-billion-dollar no-bid contracts issued by the Tinubu administration, issued to his business partner. He sells the heavy equipment to build the no-bid billion-dollar, $13 billion in projects. This is Trump's senior advisor. He's also Tiffany Trump's father-in-law. Examples of ongoing failures and impunity. Ngoshe, Borno State, wiped out in the Goza massacre of 2014. The government recently assured refugees in Cameroon it was safe for them to return, paid them to return. Within weeks, on March 3rd, Boko Haram slaughtered dozens, more than 300 abducted into slavery, including the wife and daughter of a friend of mine. The military was largely AWOL. The attacks continue there. Deborah Samuel Yakubu, 2022, college student. After finals, she posted on WhatsApp, "Jesus is the greatest. He helped me pass my exams." The next day on campus, as professors and police watched, she was beaten, stoned, tires heaped on her, and burned alive, while students filmed selfies in front of the flames celebrating. The deputy imam of the National Mosque, who performed President Buhari's daughter's wedding, publicly justified the killing within 24 hours on his own Twitter account. No one was punished. Nnamdi Kanu, British Nigerian broadcaster from London, illegally abducted from Kenya, tried under a defunct law, now serving life in Sokoto prison for words spoken in Great Britain. Meanwhile, the northern imam just recently offered a 1 million naira bounty for the head of a pastor, then doubled it to taunt his critics. No charges, no condemnation from officials. I've been corresponding with the guy. He helped him get to a safe house, but he and his family are in danger and they need help. The Nigerian government goes to great expense to rehabilitate the killers, while millions of innocent displaced victims are denied, neglected, and dying. The narrative war. The farmer herder and climate change framing started in the Obama State Department. The original reference document was written by a career Sharia propagandist hired by George Soros. At least $10 million confirmed U.S. lobbying contracts are now running. Former Trump administration officials, Nigerian government lobbyists, northern imams, foreign agents, conflicted advisors, and now even Russian state television are among those working to shield this regime from accountability. The real narrative is this: Nigeria is in the throes of an Islamic conquest. Since 2009, they have slaughtered as many as 125,000 Christians and 60,000 Muslims. This is not simply religious freedom issue. This is national and global security. The emergency, as many as 10 to 12 million, mostly youth, are now displaced. 50 to 60% chance of radicalization by 2030 without intervention. Most are denied by the government, who call them beggars and criminals. Without intervention, this could yield 5 to 6 million more jihadists over the next 5 to 6 years. Intervention is not hard. The international community has the money and the mandate to help if the displaced are simply recognized. In 2015, the UNHCR documented multiple displacement camps in Abuja. Today, they deny those camps exist. I have run schools in those same camps since 2020. They do exist. I affirm the cycle of violence is not inborn or inevitable. A lot of Americans write it off. Oh, that's just what they do. Yes, the children who saw their parents hacked to death often come to our schools wanting to go back and get revenge, but I can tell you, with an education They gain character, hope, and vision, and they want to go back to rebuild. What must happen? Nigeria has long been strangled by radical Islamists, predatory extraction, globalist meddling, and institutional corruption. Working with the Nigerian government to end the genocide is like working with the Third Reich to end the Holocaust. They smile and spin as they wait for Trump to leave office. Since CPC designation, killing and impunity have only gotten worse. Sanctions will not work. Visa bans will not work. They're ideologues, and they'll just pivot east. Intentional denial of recognition and aid to displaced people, intentional denial of recognition and aid in this circumstance meets the legal standard of genocide. This is provable. Indict the Tinubu administration. Arrest them. They're guilty of genocide. And it's provable. Conduct a valid census and evidentiary briefing of the displaced. They are our witnesses to genocide and they need help. Investigate the Sultan of Sokoto as a terror sponsor. Circumstantial evidence demands it. We know where the militant camps are. Wipe them out. Bring the enablers to justice. Demand the release of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu and other prisoners of conscience. Offer asylum protection to them and others threatened by this regime. Ensure a free election in 2027. It can be done for the cost of a Tomahawk missile volley. Tinubu was declared the winner with less than 9 million votes in a nation of 230 million. A free election changes everything. Let the people vote on a new constitution and self-determination. Like so many other British colonial contraptions designed to fail, separation is likely inevitable, and it is just. The time is now. Nigeria is at a crossroads. It will become either a peaceful, prosperous ally or a massive launchpad for global jihad. There is no going back to the status quo. If the world turns away after this unprecedented scrutiny, the backlash will be bloody and absolute. The window is closing. We must call this what it is and intervene now, or the current genocide will grow and draw more innocent blood, not just there, but here in the United States. Thank you.
All right, so that was the speech of Mike Arnold, and Ogenkere was there in that hall where Mike made this speech. Then I want to ask them, those of his followers that are bragging and making noise, why is it that Ogenkere did not have even 3 minutes time to address the people? Since he's the one talking to congressmen and they did not even give him any chance, just minor minutes like that, he couldn't get it, and they did not even recognize him to make any speech. Was he even invited, or he just heard that they're having a meeting and he appeared? That is the question that is not yet answered. It's still unanswered, and I want them to answer that. So what do you think? You see the reason why the guy is very, very good at sharing pictures of having handshake with people? Am I against him bringing Biafra if he can? If it's possible? No. But I can tell you that there's no way you will be recognized without this proper channel, like following the proper route, which is, of course, having the document that is needed. If you don't have it, then why are you blocking the way? Why are you making it look like you have something to offer? That is what I want them to understand, that we know what you must have to even stand a chance. Anyway, let me know what you think about all of this discussed so far. Thank you so much, and make sure you subscribe to the channel, like the video, and share it to any platform of your choice. God bless you and take care of yourself. Bye-bye for now.